Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Carrie Soto Is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid, her newest release. And I was really excited for this. Over the summer I definitely got into kind of the Taylor Jenkins Reid's bandwagon. I marathoned all her books and I just finished Malibu Rising, which you kind of get a preview into Carrie Soto kind of at the peak of her career, and so it was kind of good timing with finishing that and then starting this. So just a general synopsis of this review of this novel is that it follows Carrie Soto, who is one of the world's best women's tennis players. She holds the records for the most won Grand Slams, and so when she is retired, there is this other tennis player that breaks or essentially ties her record, so she decides to come out of retirement, train one last time to prove that she is the best and win another Grand Slam. And so the first part of the book is focused on Carrie and her kind of tennis career, and then the other part of the book is more focused on her training, coming out of retirement, and all that stuff. And so I was really excited for this. Like I said, I've been so deeply invested in Taylor Jenkins Reid's novels, in particular how she's able to craft such complex, dynamic female characters, and even if they're flawed or unlikable, you can't help but root for them. And so I was really excited to dive right in, especially because we kind of get somewhat of a preview of Carrie in Malibu Rising. But I will say, I think this is my biggest disappointment of the year. I gave this a 2 out of 5 stars, and there were several reasons why. I think, especially for, what makes Taylor Jenkins Reid's novels so, like I said, compelling and well loved is how the seemingly unlikable characters have some sort of character progression or some sort of epiphany that makes them kind of realize that, you know, they evolve throughout the novel essentially. And so we don't really get to see that with Carrie. For her, like, where she ends up, like where we first get introduced to her, where she decides to come back out of retirement, and where we see her at the end of the novel, there is no character progression. Essentially, she is the same character. She is still very unlikable in a sense that there's no character progression where we could see her kind of realize, you know, there's more to life than tennis. Like, we don't see any character evolution in that sense. And so it was very hard for me to kind of be invested in her story because she doesn't change. Like, she doesn't get anything out of that experience, and which was really frustrating. And Carrie, I can understand like that hyper competitive, and especially to be a professional player you do have to be competitive, but I felt like she was almost immature. I felt like she was still kind of very much like a preteen in terms of her attitude, and she's like self-aware that she does these things, and you don't understand like why she doesn't change or kind of, you know, be like, I'm aware that I'm doing these things, but I'm not willing to change or kind of work on something to be a better person. Like, again, with that no progression of character evolution, like she is aware that she does these things but just does not care that she does them or how she hurts people. And that was really frustrating, like especially for like Daisy Jones and the Six or The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. We do the characters that you get introduced to in the beginning, you kind of are very vastly different from where we see them at the end of like those memoirs, but there is some character progression. Like, they do learn from their mistakes, and I feel like Carrie just did not change at all, which, like, in a sense, like, there was no point essentially. Like, why did she go through this whole thing for her to essentially stay the same or like stay like stagnant, like just not move, or which was a little bit annoying. And again, like, she did feel very much like a teenager. Like, I felt like she was very much stuck in the age, which I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I felt like she was very much stuck at the age where she started to become very obsessed with tennis. Like, I felt like she was very immature, which was very annoying because she's like a 40-year-old acting like someone who's 12 or 13, and it just didn't make sense to me. And I felt like this was also very predictable as well in terms of what was going to happen, what is very like not subtly hinted at, you could kind of guess what's going to happen, and then the breakdown of the grand slams. There's 4, and I even early on I was like, I think this is how it's going to play out. So I wasn't very surprised by it. Like, it was just very predictable as well. And it's hard not to compare this to some of her other works that I've really enjoyed, because they weren't predictable. We got to see a lot of character progression. I just was so invested in these, you know, fictional women that felt so real to me, and Carrie just felt very one-dimensional, very flat. I felt like again, she has no character progression, so I wasn't invested in it. And yeah, like I said, I was very disappointed by this one. I did really enjoy the tennis writing in here. That's why I gave it 2 stars, is because I did think to be able to create such a, I was like engaged in the matches, even though I was like, I really can guess where this is going. I was still very invested in how she was able to keep me engaged with a lot of the tennis matches, which make up a vast majority of the kind of later half of this book. So I was very, that's why I said I really enjoyed the tennis writing, but the characters and the overarching narrative I didn't really enjoy, because I said there's no character progression, there's no evolution of this character. So yeah, like I said, this one fell flat, and so I'm hoping, like I said, I actually like the way I've read her books has been from like most favorite to least favorite, where it's like Daisy Jones and the Six, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Malibu Rising, and then Carrie Soto. So I hope she kind of goes back up after this one. So despite not liking this, like I said, I'm still very much a big Taylor Jenkins Reid fan, so hopefully she kind of goes back to her roots of, you know, more complex characters that evolve. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what you felt about this book, and like if you agree with me, because like I said, the kind of the reviews on Goodreads have been very much split, so I'm very curious to see what you guys thought about it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.